and welcome to my first Vlogmas episode of 2024. Thank you for dropping in. It's so good to see you. My name is Andrew. I'm the Albanach knitter and I live here on the west coast of Scotland on the Isle of Arran, and it's good to be back this year with Vlogmas. As I've said before, there won't be very many of these videos. I don't have time to record every day, and indeed Friday is my day off. That's when I'm recording. So I've got a chance just to sit down, catch up with myself, catch up with you, and as you can see, we're already starting to decorate for Christmas here. I've got the old Christmas tree beside me here. I've got the nativity out, although that's a bit early, and above my head you will see 4 of my Arnott and Carlos Nordic Christmas Advent sweater thingies. I was going to say my first 4, but it's actually my last 4 because I'm not doing any more. As I decided last year, life is too short to knit 24 of those little guys. But they're quite cute, aren't they? They're quite cute just hanging there on their 4. And I decided that they can represent the 4 Sundays of Advent. And I'm quite happy with that. How's your December started off? Well, I've started off okay. Things are starting to get a little bit busier for me. Many of you know I'm a pastor in a local church here in Arran. So Christmas time, there's often a few extra things happening around about this time of the year. So yesterday we had a Christmas event for some of the seniors in our community. We call it Lunchbox. We have this every 2 weeks throughout the year, but yesterday we had our Christmas meal, and we sang some carols, and I sang them a solo and gave them a few readings and a story and blessed them for a happy Christmas. And so that was a nice occasion. But the weather here has been absolutely foul. At the moment it's quite still. It's not raining yet, but we've got another storm front moving through, so it's wet and windy and all sorts of stuff. Added to that, my car is in the garage. Here in the UK, you have to take your car into the garage every year for what they call an MOT. That's I don't know what it stands for. What does MOT stands for? It's like a checkup for your car, and you need to have this certificate in order for your car to be on the road. I can't remember what it stands for even. That's how well it's going. But see, it is Friday, it is my day off, and good to be able to connect with you today. Now, in case you're wondering what's wrong with Andrew's speech, well, 20 odd years ago I had something called Bell's palsy. I lost control of all the muscles on the right side of my face, and when I'm tired, my face goes droopy and my speech starts to sound a bit weird. So don't worry about me, I'm fine. I'm not having anything more serious. It's just tiredness, and that's what December's like, isn't it? Having said that, I have been able to make some progress on the knitting, and so today is mainly a knitting update. I might have an opportunity as the month goes on to take you a few places, show you a few things, maybe even sing a carol or two, we'll see. But today it's purely a knitting update, and so if you're here for that, well, you come to the right place. It is a knitting channel after all. Now, the first thing I am delighted to say, and if you follow me over on Instagram, you'll know this already, but I have completed the red cedar sweater designed by Jessica McDonald, and I've completed it. It's all done. Both sleeves are now complete. All the ends are woven in, and all that needs to happen now for it before Christmas and before it gets gifted is for it to be blocked, just to allow those lovely stitches to relax a little bit. And then it'll be wrapped off, sent off to Father Christmas, and he will, I'm sure, deliver it to my lady wife, for whom it is made, designed, and fitted. You ready to see it? Here it is. Here we go. Here it comes. There we go. All done. Down the body there. It's got a little crease in it because it's been folded sitting over there on the chair. But there we go, there's the sleeves. Aren't they lovely sleeves? I mean, it's only a sleeve at the end of the day, but I'm very pleased with these sleeves. I love the way that they taper. It's just a pleasing angle, you know. Sometimes you have to enjoy these things about your knitting. Now, as I might have said somewhere at some point, as I was progressing down the sleeves, by the time I got to the end of the decreases, I hadn't got much left in terms of the extra you're supposed to knit. So it was straight into the cuff, and I've got a shorter cuff as a result, but the cuff was supposed to be twice as long, but I'm very pleased with it. I'm happy with the colour work. That's the front of the jumper you're seeing. The second sleeve there, and I'm even quite pleased with the underarms. You know, sometimes the underarms in your knitting can be a little bit, you know, a little bit messy, and I'm quite pleased with that as well. I'll show you the other side as well. Are you impressed? I'm quite impressed. I think this, to be honest with you, is one of the most, to me anyway, one of the most impressive garments that I've knit. I am so pleased with it, and I'm sure when it's blocked, some of the sort of little bumps and lumps you get during the knitting process will all slip away. And I mean, to be fair to myself, the colourwork stitches are already quite relaxed and quite even. So I'm very pleased with that. I just love how it's come out. And for those of you who like to see the inside of people's knitting, you nosy people, I just thought I would show you the floats. I think they're quite impressive as well. There we go. There's the inside. Look at that. Some lovely designy goodness, some lovely floaty goodness. So there we go. That's the red cedar sweater all done, and boy am I pleased. So pleased to get it done by Christmas, so pleased to get it done after 9 months. It is now gone. And if you're good at all, in the next little while, you might be able to get a picture of Mrs. Clark wearing this either on Instagram or maybe even here on a future video. You actually never know. You never know. So having done that and celebrated that with great rejoicing, I decided that I would go straight on and start my next project, which I duly did, because I said to you, I think last time I was on, that I was going to start on the Midwinter Blanket by Martin Storey, which has been in my sort of eyesight to do for quite a long time. And so I duly started it. I'm using the same leftover wool that I have from Mrs. Clark's red cedar sweater, and so the colours are the same. So I've made a start on one of the first squares. I think there's 8 different squares in all to this pattern, and I think the idea is you'd maybe knit 8 of each of them. So this is only like not even just a half of the first square, but I'm quite impressed by that. Have a wee look at that, have a squiz. And obviously it's grey and green, and that's a snowflake. You know, we all know that snowflakes aren't green, but it's art. It's art, so use your imagination. So there it is. Now, I did this over the course of maybe an evening, so it didn't take too long. But maybe it was how I was feeling on the day, or maybe it's just the sort of aftermath of completing a big long sweater project. I started to find that I was getting tired. It was requiring too much concentration for me to get those little squares started. Mainly because I think in the cedar sweater, you're knitting colour work in the round, so you're always going round and round and round, obviously, but you're always knitting. But in a flat piece like that, not only are you doing colour work, but you're going back and forwards as well. So you're having to knit in colour work and then purl in colour work on the way back. And now I think it says on the pattern that you can use intarsia techniques for that, in terms of getting those colours, because obviously you've only got, you know, in this case, some of the green making the motif and the grey as the background. But I think it was when I was doing the Arnott and Carlos pandemic squares, I don't know if you remember those. They said that the best thing to do with squares that size is just to carry the floats back and forward like you would do with colour work. And I've found that to be true, because what that does is it creates a similar thickness of fabric backwards and forwards, so you don't get lumpy bits in your blanket squares. So that's what I'm doing. It will of course mean that I'm using up more yarn, but I think it's creating more of a consistency in the blanket fabric. So that's what I'm going to do, and as well as that, although I have done little bits of intarsia in the past, I haven't always been too successful. And I thought to myself, I'm going to stick with what I know. So the Martin Story Midwinter Blanket is underway. Let it be known, December, November 2024 is when he started. Now let's see when he actually gets finished with the thing. I think it will be a long-term project. I can't see me doing that very fast at all. It just requires a good bit of conversation. No, it requires no conversation at all. It demands concentration is the most important thing. So we'll see how that goes. So as well as finishing the red cedar sweater, as well as starting the midwinter blanket, guess who dug into the knitting archive and brought out the Dustland sweater? Me! It's been sitting in its bag for a while after the sort of yarn gate and having to track down the more skeins, 50-gram skeins of the same colour lot, because the new colour lot was totally different. After the help of a wonderful viewer, I now have the yarn, and now I have started on the sleeves of the Dustland. And I have to say, I am also quite pleased with myself for this, because having just a few evenings ago, 2 evenings ago? Yeah, 2 evenings ago, cast on the first sleeve, look how we are doing. Hey, it's on the way. Now there it is from the front. So I'm actually knitting the left sleeve first. And this is for me, green, my colour. And here's the incredibly long body work, in case you had forgotten what it looks like. And you can see that this pattern is all knits and purls in various patterns. You've got at the top section here, you can't quite see it, at the top section you've got a diagonal rib, then a few rows in between each section, which is a knit row and a purl row, and then twice, and then you have a double moss, broken double moss stitch thing, then your ribs, and then you've got a broken rib, so you knit one row and then you knit two, purl two for a row, and then you're back to a diagonal rib. I suppose you call it a diagonal rib, don't you? And then it just keeps going like that until you get to the bottom. And here was my, just to remind you, here was my first predicament, because I had got to there when I decided that my sweater was long enough. And then when I went from there and started to do the rib, it was like 2 ribs together. And I just thought, no, it does not look right at all. So I put in this extra section, which I think made it too long and used up all my extra yarn, but made more sense when it came to putting the, what's the word? The ribbing down at the bottom. So that's what I did. So a little word on the sleeves. It was quite easy to pick up the sleeves, just on here. And easy to get the colour work, not the colour work, the patterning work going again. What had been confusing me and what was kind of putting me off in getting this project back out was that when it comes to the instructions of decreases, for my size, all it says that over the course of the arm, or actually over the course of the first, I think the first good bit, maybe up to the elbow, you're looking to decrease by 12 stitches in that. And what that does is it creates a very thin, close-fitting arm, which I decided that I didn't want, because Stephen West, who's the designer of this project, is a very sort of muscular, buff guy. I'm a bit more squidgy around the edges, so I didn't want a tight-fitting sleeve. So what I've done is I think I've taken about 8 stitches off on the way down, or something like that. Maybe a little. No, it's more than that. It's more than that. The numbers are higher, but the proportion's the same. I've taken about 8 proportionally off, and what I'm doing now is I'm keeping it at the same for another head, that much. And then what I may do is, as I just come into the cuff, I might take another round of maybe 4 stitches off, so that I can then do the cuff, in order to keep the sleeves just a little bit baggier for me. As you can see, I'm almost there. That's down to just halfway between my elbow and my wrist, so it sits about there. So I think probably 2 more rounds of motif on that. So that would be the broken rib, another one of those, and then another diagonal rib, and then I'm looking to start the cuff, and I'm hoping that the Dustland sweater will be finished during Advent. How about that? This is the back of the sweater, and you can see there on the top you've got the sort of short rows, which are nice because it lifts it up off the neck and creates that sense of a front and a back in that sort of way. One thing I do notice, and it may just be my knitting or it may be something else, is that down the back, which is, now you can see a crease there, so but down the back, if you look very closely, you can see where the join is, because the join for the sweater goes all the way down the back, with it being a top-down yoke. It sort of interrupts the patterning just a little bit, but you know what? That's the back. I'm not going to see the back. I'm not going to see the back, so I'm not going to worry. When I look in the mirror, or when I catch myself passing on a shop window wearing this Dustland sweater, I'm not going to be looking at the back, so I don't care. That's it. You have to have that attitude, don't you? I mean, with a little bit of washing and blocking, if I do that, it might not be too bad. And I say if I do that because this is a wool and acrylic blend. So I just thought, if this is going to be a jumper that I'm going to wear sort of on a regular basis, it's going to have to be something that can be washed relatively easy. And certainly when I started it, I didn't fancy having something that was entirely wool, because I thought it would just be too warm, to be honest. I'm not someone who needs a lot of encouragement to be too warm. So I just decided that I would do it in an acrylic for ease of care and wash and wear and all that sort of thing. So the Dustland is on the way, and I'm looking forward to trying that on when it is finished. So there you go, that's the excitement progress on the knitting front. In terms of what's happening over the next 3 days for me, weekend is coming up, and I think actually tomorrow, there's not too much on, apart from we have an event up at Sanix Christian Centre where I'm involved as one of the trustees, and I lead the retreat programme up there. We have a sort of first Saturday of the month sort of worship event up there, so I'm speaking at that. And then on Sunday, it's our service in the morning and just the usual stuff. And yeah, so not that busy this week. But as I've been speaking to you here, the rain has now come on. It is now absolutely torrential rain. You know, all the ferries are off, the wind's picking up, storm blowing through. That's just how it is. But I hope whatever you're doing during this month of December, you're taking plenty of cozy time to knit and to enjoy your nearest and dearest, to be creative and to chase away those winter blues. So thank you for joining me on this first little Vlogmas episode of 2024, and I hopefully will see you next week. Take care. God bless.